Hey, what's going on? Ryan here with Intersection Records and talking about the Beatles, talking about 60 years ago today. The Beatles really changed American youth culture, American music culture. You know, before the Beatles came to the United States, there wasn't a huge rock scene. In the 50s, you had Elvis, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, and Jerry Lee Lewis. Elvis went to the military in '59. Jerry Lee Lewis married his cousin. Little Richard became a preacher. Chuck Berry was in and out of trouble, in and out of jail. And Buddy Holly, unfortunately, was killed in a plane crash in 1959. That gap between '59 and '62. You had Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons. I guess in '61, '62, you have the Beach Boys, but that's really it. Everything else is reverting back to some sort of, pop songs and bubblegum stuff. Coming into 1964, the United States is reeling. In November of 1963, John F. Kennedy is assassinated in Dallas, Texas. John F. Kennedy brought in a new culture to our country too, a young president, a young wife with a young family, kind of a royalty, if you will, American royalty. He is bringing change into the country. He is gunned down. We're reeling. But by late November of '63, and certainly by December, there's this song, "I Want to Hold Your Hand," from a band called the Beatles, that's starting to make its way over to the United States. By January 16th, they decide we're going to release this song in America as a single. The song gets so hot that by the end of '63, December, they release the song. The song, by January 25th of '64, goes to #1, and it's a sensation. The Beatles are ready to come to America and play on the Ed Sullivan Show and do a couple other dates, which they did. So they leave Heathrow Airport on the morning of February 7th, 1964, 60 years ago today. They're swarmed by fans at the Heathrow Airport in London. They had no idea what to expect. The British bands had not made it in the United States. There was bands over there that just never translated to the American market for some reason. So they don't know what to do, but they know they have a #1 hit on their hands in America. When they get to JFK Airport in New York on their Pan Am Flight 101, they are greeted by 5,000 screaming fans at the airport. They'd heard mid-flight that there was a lot of people gathered at the airport. There's a big crowd, and they thinking to themselves, have we made it already over here? They get off. They're expecting presidents to be there or somebody, but it's all these young screaming fans for the Beatles. They're rushed into a press conference in the offices of Pan Am Airlines, where they win over a condescending media pretty immediately. The media is talking about their haircuts and when did you get your last haircut? And but their wit, charm, and humor win these people over. They then take a limo ride to the Plaza Hotel in Midtown Manhattan, and they're listening to the radio station. The radio station are saying the Beatles are on the way to the hotel. The Beatles are here. And they're like, oh, this is unbelievable. They get to the hotel, they're mobbed again. They watch the evening news about themselves, and then they go to the theater and do some rehearsals for their February 9th, debut on the Ed Sullivan Show. And that really changes everything. They play their hit and a couple other songs. And really, you go down the line of the John Fogertys and the Leonard Skinner guys and the Allman Brothers to a man, they'll all say that sitting around that TV watching that show, watching the Beatles perform on the Sullivan show, I don't know why I can't say Sullivan, changed their life. It made them go out and buy a guitar. Tom Petty, I mean, every one of these guys to a man. Back then there wasn't an internet, obviously. For the Beatles coming over to America, they don't even know what they're coming over to. The Wild West and cowboys and Indians, and yes, there's New York City, but it's there's not all this information. And when a show like the Ed Sullivan Show is on, everybody's watching it. The entire family's watching it. There's only a couple of television stations. So this impact on these young people with this four guys, John, Paul, George, and Ringo, and their haircuts, and the way that they play their instruments, the way they perform, and the way people going crazy, just makes an instant impact. And people wake up that next morning and they know what they're going to do for the rest of their lives, or certainly what they're going to strive to do. Bands are formed, and everything changes, and it's hard to equate it into a different pop culture phenomenon. Obviously Elvis was a phenomenon, but didn't really last. The Beatles did last, and it lasted through the rock era. We're in an era now where rock and roll music is cast aside, and maybe there's not enough money in it for the powers that be to push that music, so they're pushing other hip-hop artists and country artists because they can make money off of it. I don't know. Anyway, the Beatles changed our world, and it's safe to say that they really did. Anyway, check out my channel. We do shows every single day. Peace out. See you later.